I am making an update for my Blue Eyes deck, as I was able to get a couple cards and now I have it the way I like it. I played using my locals recently and I ended up going 2-2, where I lost against White Forest, mainly because I just don't know how to fight them, as well as I just didn't have very good hands for that match. And then I proceeded to lose to Fiendsmith Goblin Biker. Again, I just don't know how to fight them. That's the main issue, is that sometimes I just don't know what to negate when I do have negates. But I did win against Dark Magician Shining Sarcophagus, and then I also won against Cyber Dragon as well, just because in one of the games they had Snorlax on Cyber Dragon Core, added a repair plant, and then I used Droll and Lockbird, and the rest of the cards in their hand all searched, so they kind of just got broken from there. But starting off with the monsters, I play one copy of Priestess with Eyes of Blue. Priestess has the effect that if she's targeted by a card effect, you can then send one effect monster you control to the graveyard to then add two different Blue Eyes monsters from your deck to your hand. It's either 2 or up to 2. You add up to 2 Blue Eyes monsters with different names from deck to hand. And if it's in your graveyard, you can target a Blue Eyes monster you control, shuffle it into the deck to special summon this card. Whoop. The grave effect I never really use. The main effect I use is its effect when it's targeted by a card effect, which that is part of a combo that I will show at the end of the video that summons what I consider to be this deck's boss monster. And then next, I play 3 copies of Maiden with Eyes of Blue. Not Maiden with Eyes of Blue, Maiden of White. Maiden of Eyes of Blue is a different card that's not very good anymore. Maiden of White has the effect you can send it from your hand or field to the graveyard to then place a True Light face up from your hand, deck, or graveyard. And then if Blue Eyes White Dragon is special summoned while this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card. And lastly, if Maiden of White is targeted by a card effect, you can then activate its effect to special summon a level 1 Light Tuner or a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or graveyard. Or is it just graveyard? I can never remember that one. Okay, you special summon from graveyard. And next, I play 3 copies of Sage with Eyes of Blue. Sage with Eyes of Blue has the effect that you can, while it's in your hand, you can target an effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your deck. And then when Sage is normal summoned, you can then add a level 1 light monster from your deck to your hand. And lastly, wait, isn't that the only effects this has? I always think the setting has 3 effects when it only has 2. Yeah, it's just those 2 effects. I don't know why I always think it has a 3rd effect when it doesn't. But if I remember correctly, the effect when normal summoned is not once per turn. Oh yeah. So the effect when normal summoned is not once per turn, but the effect in hand is a hard once per turn. I say that because you have Mausoleum that gives you additional normal summon. You have 2 of these. You normal summon both of them and get 2 level 1 light monster searches. Next, I play 1 copy of Master with Eyes of Blue. When Master with Eyes of Blue is normal or special summoned, you can then target 1 level 1 light monster in your graveyard, add it back to your hand. And then I forget the grave effect. Master has the grave effect of, while this card's in your graveyard, you can shuffle this card from your graveyard into the deck to target an effect monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and if you do, special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your graveyard other than the Scent monster. Which, again, that grave effect I have yet to use, but I do like the ability to normal summon this, return Sage to hand, and Sage will target this, send it to grave to summon a Blue Eyes from deck. And then next, I play 2 copies of Blue Eyes Jet Dragon. Blue Eyes Jet Dragon has the effect that if this card is in your hand or graveyard, when a card is destroyed, Then you can special summon this card. In order for it to summon itself, I believe you also have to have Blue Eyes. Let's see. Okay, yeah, you can only activate its effects while you have Blue Eyes White Dragon on your field or in your graveyard. That's what it was. But if a card in the field is destroyed while its card's in your graveyard, or if it was in your hand, even if it was added, so like a card is being destroyed in a chain, and then this is added to your hand at the end of the chain, this can then summon itself. And then it also has the effect that once per turn, if it battles, then it can target one card on or can't remember if it's one card or one monster, but you return it to the hand. So yeah, at the start of the damage step, if this card battles, you can target one card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. That's what it was. And then its final effect is while it's in play, your other cards cannot be destroyed by card effects. So if your Mausoleum of White is destroyed and this card is in your graveyard, you can activate Jet Dragon as Chain 2 for the Mausoleum. So that Jet Dragon will summon itself, and then the True Light... I don't know why I say Mausoleum. It's True Light's effect when it leaves the field. But when True Light activates, Jet Dragon will be Chain 2, summoning itself, and then the True Light will only destroy the Jet Dragon. That's what I was getting at. And then next, I play 3 copies of Blue Eyes White Dragon. This is just in here because it is, in fact, needed for the Blue Eyes deck. I know most people only play 2 because it's bricky at 3, but I still like playing the 3. And then lastly, for the monsters, I play 1 copy of Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon. This is in here for what I consider to be the boss monster of the deck. But Chaos Max Dragon cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. And when Chaos Max attacks a monster in defense mode, it does double piercing damage. So if it attacks a monster that's in defense that has 0 defense, then they will inflict 8,000 points of battle damage. Moving on to the spells, I play 1 copy of Mausoleum of White. Mausoleum has the effect that during your main phase, you can get 1 additional normal summon of a level 1 light monster. You can only gain that effect once. And then once per turn, you can target a monster in your field, send a Blue Eyes monster from your deck to the graveyard to then increase that monster's attack by 100 times the sent monster's level. And I think it has a 3rd effect, but I could easily be wrong about that. Okay, yeah, it does have a 3rd effect, but no one plays Burst of Destruction, so its great effect doesn't do anything. Next, I play 1 copy of Secret Village of the Spellcasters. This is just in here because if you have a spellcaster, your opponent does not. Your opponent cannot use spells. But if you don't have a spellcaster, then you can't activate spells. And next, I play 1 copy of Ultimate Fusion. Ultimate Fusion lets you fusion summon a monster that acquires Blue Eyes White Dragon or Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon as material by shuffling its materials from hand, field, or graveyard back into the deck. And then if you had any of those on field when you activate this card, you can then destroy a card your opponent controls up to the number of monsters on the field you used. But that doesn't really matter, so that part doesn't usually get used. Next, I play 1 copy of Called by the Grave, just to target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, banish it, and then negates effects for the entire rest of the turn. So, for example, if your opponent tries to Ash Your Wishes, which is the next card, or not the next card, it's one of the next cards, then you can use this to target the Ash and Grave, banish it, and then add all effects of Ash Blossom and Joy Spring for the turn are negated. And then next, I play 2 copies of Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons. Roar of the Blue-Eyed Dragons, this lets you special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon, or a Blue Eyes monster from your deck in defense mode, but, or from your hand deck, hand deck, grave, or banish? From your deck, graveyard, or banish, or if you control no cards, it has to be Blue Eyes White Dragon. And then it has the grave effect of being able to banish it to fusion summon, but you can only use one of those 2 effects per turn and only once that turn. So if you use this effect to summon, you cannot use the grave effect to fuse, and vice versa. If you fuse, you cannot activate it to summon. Lastly, for the spells, I play 3 copies of Wishes for Eyes of Blue. Wishes for Eyes of Blue lets you discard a card to then be able to add a spell or trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon, and then a level 1 light monster from deck to hand. Then, all cards in your graveyard, you can banish it, target a Blue Eyes White Dragon you control, and then increase its attack by 400 by equipping it with a fusion monster from your extra deck. I believe it does have to be a Blue Eyes. Let's see, what was it? Yeah, you equip it with a Blue Eyes monster from your extra deck, that's what it was. And then you can only use each effect of Wishes for Eyes of Blue per turn, once per turn. Moving on to the traps, I play 1 copy of Majesty of the White Dragons. Majesty of the White Dragons has the effect that you can show up to 3 Blue Eyes White Dragons from your hand, field, or graveyard, to then destroy an equal number of cards on your opponent's field. And then if this card's in your graveyard, you can banish it, tribute a Blue Eyes White Dragon you control, or in your hand, to ritual summon a Blue Eyes Ritual monster. So this is how you'll summon Chaos Max Dragon. And then next I play 1 copy of True Light. True Light has the effect that while it's in play, your Blue Eyes White Dragon cannot be targeted or destroyed. Oh, is it targeted or destroyed by card effects? I believe that's some protection. Okay, no, it can't be targeted by card effects, but can still be destroyed by card effects. And then if it's sent from the spell and trap zone to the graveyard, and then it destroys all your monsters, and then you can only use each of the 2 falling effects once per turn and only one set turn, where you can special summon a Blue Eyes White Dragon from your hand or graveyard, or you can set a spell or trap that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon that has a different name than the cards on your field or in your graveyard. And then next is a card I'm testing in the deck, where I didn't see it at all in the tournament, but I am playing 3 copies of Dragon's Mind. Dragon's Mind has the effect that when your opponent activates a spell, trap, or monster effect, while you control a monster that has 2500 attack or defense, Blue Eyes has 2500 defense, then you can negate that activated effect and destroy that card. And then if this card's in your graveyard, then you can pay 2500 life points to reset it, but it's banished when it leaves the field. But the thing I like about this is the fact that since it is a trap, it can be reset off of Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. Like I said, I'm just trying it in this deck. Worst case scenario, I don't like it, and I move it to the side deck for going first. And then, as for hand traps, I play 3 copies of Droll Lockbird. Droll Lockbird can be activated during the main phase. When your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, then you can discard this card on the resolution of that effect, to then make it so that neither player can add cards from their deck to their hand for the rest of the turn. And then next, I play 3 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler can only be activated during your opponent's main phase, but you can discard it to the graveyard, target an effect monster your opponent controls, and negate its effects until the end of the turn. The thing I like about Effect Veiler is that it is not a hard once per turn, which, funny enough, Droll Lockbird also isn't once per turn. And then for a hard once per turn, I play 3 copies of Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Ash Blossom has the effect that when your opponent activates a card or effect that includes the effect you add from deck to hand, summon from deck, or send from deck to graveyard, then you can discard this card to then negate that effect, and if you do, or you negate that effect, you don't destroy it. I don't know why I always want to go, and if you do, destroy that card. I don't know why I keep wanting to add that. Next, I play 3 copies of Molcharmy Fualos. Fualos has the effect that while you control no cards, you can discard this card to the graveyard to make it so that for the rest of the turn, if your opponent summons from their deck or extra deck, you can draw a card. And then you can only use 2 Molcharmy effects per turn. And during the end phase, if you have more cards in your hand than your opponent has on field, plus 6, you randomly shuffle cards from your hand back into the deck until the number of cards in your hand is equal to the number of cards your opponent controls, plus 6. So if you have 20 cards in hand, but your opponent only controls 8 cards, then you have to randomly shuffle 6 of those cards back into the deck. And then lastly, for the main deck, I play 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Infinite Impermanence can be activated while you control no cards. While you have no face-up cards, I mean. And then Infinite Impermanence has the effect that when it's activated, you can target an effect monster your opponent controls, negates effects till the end of the turn. And this card was set when it was activated. Spells and traps in the same column as it have their effects negated for that turn. And that is it for the main deck. I believe the main deck is 44 cards. Which, if I change it a bit, I'll probably take out Master with Eyes of Blue, and then the 3 Dragon's Mind, and boot the Dragon's Minds to the side deck. Or I'd keep Master in and take out 1 Blue Eyes White Dragon. And then for the extra deck, I play 2 copies of Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Spirit with Eyes of Blue has the effect that when it's link summoned, you can add a Mausoleum of White from your deck to your hand. And then you contribute this card to then special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your graveyard. But if you summon an effect monster with this effect, it cannot attack and its effects are negated. It will phase up on the field. Usually this is being used to bring back Blue Eyes White Dragon, which is why it has that effect. And then next, I play 1 copy of Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. I don't know why I can never remember the card's full name. But it has the effect that during your opponent's turn, while this card's in the extra monster zone, you contribute it to then make it so that you contribute 1 monster to return 1 card your opponent controls back to the hand. And then if Heretic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres is distributed, you can special summon a dragon monster from your deck with 0 attack and defense. Its attack and defense becomes 0. So usually what I'll start off with this is a Jet Dragon. And then next, I play 1 copy of Indigo Eyes Silver Dragon. Indigo Eyes has the effect that when it's XD summoned, it negates all face-up cards your opponent controls. And then once per turn, you can detach a material, bring back a Blue Eyes monster from your graveyard with 1,000 extra attack. And then its last effect is they cannot attack directly if it does not have a normal monster as material. Next, I play 1 copy of Ancient Fairy Dragon. This is just in here for its ability to search for Secret Village of the Spellcasters. I don't know why I always want to call it Sacred Village. It's Secret Village. But it has the effect that once per turn, you can destroy all field spells in play, gain 1,000 life points, and then add a field spell with a different name from the destroyed field spells from your deck to your hand. And then once per turn, you can activate its effect so you cannot conduct your battle phase that turn, but you get to summon a level 4 or lower monster from your hand. Which, if I use that effect, it'll usually be a special on a level 1 tuner, so I can then use it and the Ancient Fairy Dragon summon Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon. Crystal Wing has the effect that when you activate a monster effect, you can negate that effect if you do destroy that card, and then if it does destroy a monster, it gains attack equal to that monster's original attack till the end of the turn. And then if Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon battles a level 5 or higher monster, Crystal Wing can then gain attack equal to that monster's attack until the end of the damage step. Next, I play 1 copy of Azure Eyes Silver Dragon. Azure Eyes has the effect that while this card's in play, or when this card is synchro summoned, you can then activate its effect to make it so that the dragons you currently control cannot be targeted or destroyed by opponent's card effects. And then during each of your standby phases, Azure Eyes can activate its effect to target a normal monster in your graveyard and special summon it. And then next, I play 2 copies of Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon has the effect that you can, or when your opponent activates the effect of a card in the graveyard, you can negate it, and then you contribute it at any point as a quick effect to then special summon a light dragon synchro monster from your extra deck. However, that monster is destroyed during the end phase. And then in order to use that effect, though, the Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon does have to be synchro summoned, so you can't just tribute it, bring it back, and then do it again. Because for some reason, Spirit with Eyes of Blue is a soft once per turn with its effects. And then to finish off the synchro monsters, I play 1 copy of Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon. Blue Eyes Ultimate Spirit Dragon has the effect that your opponent cannot banish cards from your graveyard, and if your opponent activates an effect of a card on the field, you can negate that effect, and if you do, This card gains 1,000 attack till the end of the turn. And then if this card is destroyed and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon any light dragon monster from your graveyard. So usually I'll have this bring back Blue Eye Spirit Dragon just because Spirit Dragon's a graveyard negate, depending on the matchup. Otherwise I just bring back Blue Eyes and then bring back Maiden. And then moving on to the fusions, I play 2 copies of Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon. Blue Eyes Tyrant Dragon has the effect where it's unaffected by trap cards. It can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each. And then at the end, or at the end of the damage step, I think that's when it is. I don't remember exactly when it triggers. Let's see. Okay, yeah. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled, once per turn, you can then set a trap card from your graveyard. And its last effect is it either has to be fusion summoned using Blue Eyes White Dragon and any other dragon, or you can tribute a Blue Eyes White Dragon that is equipped with a fusion monster. Then next, I play 1 copy of Blue Eyes Ultimate, or Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Neo Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon has the effect that I can't remember if it has any protection effects. Okay, it does not. At the end of the damage step, if this is the only monster you have, you can send a fusion monster from your extra deck to the graveyard that mentions Blue Eyes White Dragon as material to give it an additional attack. You can only use that effect twice per turn. And then while this card's in your graveyard, you can then, if your opponent activates a card or effect that would target a dragon monster you control, you can banish this card from your graveyard to negate that effect. And then I play 1 copy of Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is only in here for the next monster, which I consider to be the actual boss monster of the deck, which is 1 copy of Dragon Master Magia. Dragon Master Magia has the effect that it either needs to be fusion summoned using Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon, or 3 Blue Eyes monsters, plus a Chaos Ritual monster, or a Blackluster Soldier Ritual monster. Which I will also show a 1.5 card combo that gets you to Magia, as well as still being able to do normal Blue Eyes stuff. But Dragon Master Magia also has the effect that once per turn, if your opponent activates a card or effect, when your opponent activates a card or effect, Magia can then activate its effect to negate that card, but it can only negate 1 card of monster, spell, or trap each. So once per turn is a spell negate, trap negate, and a monster negate. And if this card leaves the field because of an opponent's card, you can then special summon a Blue Eyes monster from your extra deck. What was it? Deck, extra deck, or graveyard? I know it's extra deck and graveyard, I just can't remember if it's deck as well. Okay, extra deck or graveyard, that's what it was. And that's it for the extra deck. I will now go into the 1.5 card combo to summon it. So the combo is 1 Sage plus any card that can be discarded. So in this case, I choose the one that's a good discard fodder for if I go first and see it in my opening hand. So what you do is you'll normal summon the Sage. Sage will then let you add Maiden of White from your deck to your hand. You will then use Maiden's effect, discarding it to the graveyard, so you can place True Light face up on your field. Then you'll use True Light's effect to set your wishes for Eyes of Blue. You'll then use wishes, discarding any card from your hand. You should then be able to add Priestess with Eyes of Blue and Ultimate Fusion from your deck to your hand. And then you'll link off your Sage with Eyes of Blue to summon, where is it? Your Spirit of White, or Spirit with Eyes of Blue. Spirit's effect will then let you grab Mausoleum of White. You will then activate your Mausoleum of White, which will now give you additional normal summon of a monster. So you can now normal summon your Priestess with Eyes of Blue. Then you'll activate Mausoleum's effect, targeting your Priestess to send a Blue Eyes to graveyard. And now Priestess will activate its effect, sending it yourself to the graveyard, to be able to add Jet Dragon and Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon to your hand. Now you'll use Spirit with Eyes of Blue's effect, tributing itself, to bring back your Blue Eyes White Dragon. And then since Blue Eyes White Dragon was summoned, you can bring back your Maiden. And now you will use Wishes for Eyes of Blue's effect, banishing itself from the graveyard, to then equip your Blue Eyes White Dragon with your Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. And then you'll tune your Maiden with Blue Eyes White Dragon to special summon your Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. And now, since you have Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon in your graveyard and Blue Eyes Chaos Max Dragon in your hand, you can now activate your Ultimate Fusion, shuffling the Chaos Max Dragon and the Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon back into the deck to summon your Dragon Master Magia. And then what you can do from here just depends on what else is in your hand. Like what I would normally do is, if I have a level 1 tuner in hand still, is I'll then use Spirit Dragon's effect, tribute itself, special summon the Ancient Fairy Dragon. I'll then use Ancient Fairy's effect to destroy the Mausoleum of White, because usually after the first turn you don't need it anymore. And then grab the Secret Village of the Spellcasters. Whoop. And then if I have a level 1 tuner, Ancient Fairy, we can then special summon it. Tune the tuner with Ancient Fairy Dragon to special summon the Crystal Winged Synchro Dragon. And then if there's nothing else, any other spells I want to use, I'll activate Secret Village, which at the moment would lock me out of being able to use Spellcasters. But once my opponent draws, I'll use True Light's effect, bring back a Blue Eyes White Dragon from the graveyard. And then because I summon a Blue Eyes, I can now bring back the Maiden, which now gives me a Spellcaster, so my opponent can't use spell cards. Without first having to run over Maiden, that is. But that is it for the... I guess technically it's turned into a 1 or 2.5 card combo, being Sage, any card, and then a level 1 tuner. But the main thing is if you have Sage and any card, then as long as your opponent doesn't interrupt you at any point, you can have Magia and Blue Eyes Spirit Dragon. But that is it for my deck profile. If you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, which I am thinking about building a Regenesis version of the deck. I just have to wait till I get the rest of the Regenesis cards in the mail. But if you have any ideas what I can do to improve the deck, any ideas for decks I'd like to see be made in the future, or decks I'd like to see face each other, feel free to comment down below. I always read the comments. Thank you for watching.